we're going to draw it to a close, and but I want to remind you that I've been told by Ellen is going to talk. Did you want to? Just one thing. Okay, I just want to say that I was told there can be more events like this. So the next one, I think we're just going to be involved in the conversation part of it, which I was looking forward to more than anything, and we never really got to.
Jerry, there's a young woman that's had her hand up.
Okay, can we put her and then, you know, go ahead. Come to the microphone, please.
Hi, my name is Heather, and I'm from the University of Virginia, and I'm up here actually researching the rise of the GAA. So the University of Virginia is actually giving funding now to research, you know, what you accomplished at the time that you were working. And I just want to thank you because I'm involved in queer activism in Virginia, and you know that's a scary place still to be out, either as a gay man or as a lesbian in that state. And so the question I wanted to ask y'all is actually something you said you didn't want to address, but I really want to know the different ideologies between the GAA and the GLF and what, you know, from the mouths of the people who were in it, because the small historical work that has been done, I'm writing a historical thesis on the rise of the GAA, and so the work that's been done by, the limited work that's been done by historians so far is very conflicting about really the different ideologies between the two and really why they split. Why does there need to be a GAF when there's already the GLF? And I had another quick question too. I'm really, you keep talking about, sorry, this is so new for, you know, my generation. We're really trying to learn what you accomplished. And so you speak a lot about the student homophile movements that happened before, and I just really wanted to know your opinions and if they influenced what the GLF did in the early 70s in any way, and any information that you can offer would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
That's the next forum.
I just want to say quickly, I really, goodbye Mark, I'll talk to you soon. I really wanted to get into that GAA-GLF split. It's a very long, involved thing, but I'll give a very fast overview of it. And a fast overview of it is a lot of the people in GLF felt that the movement should have an organization specifically dedicated to gay issues. Did I say GLF? Sorry. The people that formed GLA wanted an organization specifically oriented to gay issues, and the people in GLF felt that we were part of the large counterculture movement of the time, the anti-war movement, that was basically the split. The split was Marty Robinson, Jim Alls, Kay Tobin, they basically, Arthur Evans.
I want to respond to that, Jerry.
Okay, go ahead.
I was a member of both GLF and then 74 on GAA. I would say the main differences were, number one, GLF was multi-issue, and GAA was single issue, only for gay rights. Secondly, GLF, for all of its benefits, was chaotic. Anybody who attended a meeting could be a member. There was no voting, everything by consensus. You could have autonomous cells and do anything in the world and claim it was GLF. So GAA wanted orderly meetings. They had Robert's Rules of Order. They may have gone overboard, but you know, at least they made decisions in a democratic way by voting. And there is no substitute in a democracy for voting. I had mixed feelings because I sympathized with the radical vision that GLF had, and I stayed in GLF. But in a nutshell, those are the issues involved.
I'd like to say something to that too. Perry, you want to say something?
Yeah. I think there was it's very interesting. There was actually a main difference in culture. I think that GLF still, the people who remained really embedded into GLF, and I must admit I was one of them. I did not go over to GAA. We did have this feeling that the consensus idea at GLF was really important to us. I used to tell my friends who were my GLF friends who went into GAA, I told them I did not want to become an alienated minority within an alienated minority. So I did not go over to GAA. However, some of the GAA people, like I really believe Arthur Evans was one of them, remained extremely radical, Arthur was a real thinker and idealist, and they brought this kind of GLF radicalism into GAA. And the one thing that I will say that GAA did that it still remains today is that they started Lambda Legal Defense as a subcommittee of GAA, which still exists. So this part of GAA is still alive.
I'd like to respectfully disagree with some of what Perry and John has said, and agree overall with what they both said. This is sort of in the spirit of GLF, by the way. I believe that GAA was founded by men, by gay men, mentored by members of the homophile movement, Roz Riegelson, Kay Tobin, and Barbara Giddings, who took them aside and were terrified that the lefties and the radicals in GLF were going to create a situation which was similar to what had happened in the 50s when the McCarthy hearings came about. Andy's smiling, but you should learn your history, Andy. Okay, but really, this is something that people don't want to talk about. In the 50s, when not only McCarthy went after communists, he also went after homosexuals. And homosexual communist was about as low and bad as you could get. So the legitimate fears of the homophile movement, who were very much into traditional values in America, being just like straight people, were terrified of what they saw in GLF, the politics of GLF. So those members that went, in very much the history of the women's movement and other minority groups that start in a radical position, you will see history has taught us that the single issue groups come later. They're the ones that usually are middle class. And in this instance, in GAA, they were almost 98% male. There are many other differences. GAA's actions were much more aggressive and quote-unquote violent than anything GLF ever did. They're very masculinist in their energy. Now, I say that just so that you begin to see the difference. GAA accomplished, I think, practically more in a practical way than GLF did. What GLF did was sparked the imaginations of gay and lesbian people all over the world to make their lives different. So they're very different kinds of ways of going about it. But GLF had women in it. That made a big difference. Had people of color in it. That made a big difference. Had drag queens in it. That made a big difference. GAA was pretty much all boys, all white.
Ellen?